One of the morning blessings in the daily liturgy expresses gratitude to God, Pokeach Ivrim. A literal translation of this phrase might say, one who opens the eyes of the blind. Our liberal Siddur translates it as, for eyes to see. And a more sensitive, accessibility-focused translation might read, who grants the ability to perceive the world around us. While the original blessing might speak to the physical act of sight, I think we can expand it to better understand it as a power to notice, to understand, and to respond and act when things happen around us. In our Torah portion, Balak, the idea of seeing and perceiving serves as a motif that leads us through the story. Who is perceived and to what end? Who is able to perceive the truth around them, and who must be reminded or granted the ability to perceive and understand. The somewhat fantastical and almost fairy tale-like nature of this story encourages us to interrogate our own proverbial blind spots and biases, to question when we may have encountered difficult truths without being fully open to receive them. Our Parsha opens, Balak, son of Zippor, saw all that the Israelites had done to the Amorites. Balak perceives Israel as a threat to his people and sends a message to a man named Balaam, sometimes called a prophet or a seer. The elders of Midian and Moab are skilled in divination, the practice of magical seeing, and they bring Balak's request to Balaam to curse the Israelites. God instructs Balaam that he may go with Balak, but only speak the words that God has given him. This leads to an almost comical series of events. Balaam looks out over Israel, and instead of curses, he blesses them. Balak, angry that his prophet for hire is blessing his enemies, takes him to 3 other scenic viewpoints, but each time Balaam blesses Israel. In Balak's estimation, Balaam simply needs to see the Israelites properly to share his view of them as a danger. For their first moment, in the morning Balak took Balaam to Bamath Baal, for there he could see a portion of the people. For the second curse, Balak said to him, "Come with me to another place from which you can see them. You will see only a portion of them, you will not see all of them, and you can curse them for me from there." Next, Balak takes Balaam to the peak of Peor, which overlooks the wasteland. And finally, Balaam, seeing that it pleased God to bless Israel, did not, as on previous occasions, go in search of omens, but turned his face towards the wilderness. And as he looked up and saw Israel encamped tribe by tribe, the Spirit of God came upon him. Despite Balak's attempt to make Balaam see Israel as in a manner that would lead him to curse them, God continuously places blessings in Balaam's mouth until an all-enraged Balak simply gives up. One of Balaam's blessings even seems to speak directly to this matter, as he says, "No harm is in sight for Jacob, no woe in view for Israel." Balak wishes to see Israel cursed, and instead God, through Balaam, assures that there is no such future. Balak's perception that as a king he has the power to curse his enemies, to stand against divine will, and to bring harm to the Israelites has been severely challenged. As readers, our perception of Balaam is left uncertain. Is he righteous or wicked? Does he truly intend to curse Israel, or is he merely playing along with Balak's request for the sake of getting paid? Does God actually want Balaam to go in order to grant Israel more blessings? As the text seems to suggest, is God angry that Balaam is agreeing to join Balak? But there is one more key character in this story who is able to very easily perceive the right and the wrong, to see divine beings, and to speak up, and that is Balaam's donkey. When he arose in the morning, Balaam saddled his jenny, his female donkey, and departed from with the Moabite dignitaries. God was incensed at his going, so an angel of God took a position in his way as an adversary. He was riding on his donkey with his 2 servants alongside when the donkey caught sight of an angel of God standing in his way with his sword drawn in his hand. The donkey swerved from the road and went into the fields. Balaam beat the donkey to turn her back onto the road. The angel corners them between 2 hedgerows, and the donkey pushes Balaam up against the fence, and he beats her again. The angel moves closer, and the donkey lies down, and Balaam beats her a 3rd time. And then, for only the 2nd time in the Torah, an animal speaks. God opened the donkey's mouth, and she said to Balaam, "What have I done that you have beaten me these 3 times?" And Balaam said, "You have made a mockery of me. If I had a sword, I'd kill you." The donkey said, "I am the donkey you have been riding all along until this day. Have I been in a habit of doing thus to you?" And he answered, "No." Then God uncovered Balaam's eyes, and he saw the angel of God standing in the way, his sword drawn in hand, and thereupon he bowed right down to the ground. The female donkey, considered in rabbinic literature to be among the lowliest of the animals, is able to perceive the angel of God and shies away. The donkey, a beast of burden, not a wise prophet among the nations, is able to see what Balaam is not. The donkey, holding a lower position in the social ladder, has the ability to perceive that which a king and a prophet cannot. Balaam does not listen to the nonverbal cues of the donkey. He responds to her initial 3 messages of danger only with violence. It is only after God opens her mouth and grants her the power of speech that Balaam speaks to her. It is only when he begins to see her closer to an equal than to his servant that he stops beating her. And still he does not perceive the angel until God forces him to. The Midrash equates God opening the mouth of the donkey to God placing the blessings into Balaam's mouth. God appeared to Balaam and placed a word, a davar, in his mouth. It is like a man who places a bit upon the mouth of his animal and twists it to where he wants to go. So was the Holy Blessed One twisting Balaam's mouth. Thus, every dynamic of power and expectation is flipped upside down. Balak, a king who is used to paying for whatever he wants, is not only denied curses, but his enemies are blessed. Balaam, the prophet and seer, loses the ability to both prophesy and see. He is metaphorically bridled by God, forced to speak only what God intends, while his own donkey is gifted the power of free speech. The donkey, who we might otherwise have ignored, is given the power to see divine beings and to speak human language. As readers, our perception of power, class, and action are all upended by this story. Truth comes from the mouth of the donkey, and the king is left unserved. The prophet cannot see the angel blocking the path and responds with violence when he is warned about the angel. And perhaps this is why we need a daily blessing, thanking God for the power to perceive the world around us. Divine revelation may come from the most unexpected places. Balak, certain that he can curse Israel, employs a prophet to see the downfall of his perceived enemy. Balaam sets off on his way, certain in his choice to follow Balak, but is disrupted by an invisible angel and a talking donkey. God repeatedly tells Balaam that he may go with Balak, but Balaam simultaneously does not simply refuse Balak. He tries to place the responsibility on God, who reminds him time and again that cursing Israel is not God's will. I think the Torah wants to discomfort us in this parsha. It invites reflection on our own actions and choices. It encourages us to examine how we perceive our own power and position in relation to those around us. It reminds us that truth is not always spoken by a king or prophet, and that sometimes we must listen to the smallest voice, the voice of the donkey, the voice of the one who would be otherwise ignored, but who's actually been gifted the ability to see divinity in the world around us. These truths are often the hardest to accept and demand a level of humility and openness, the ability for self-examination, and the strength to reframe our own biases and ideas. And so every morning we say, "Blessed are you, God, who gives us the ability to perceive the world around us.